Have you ever thought about how life would be if you were dancing, playing in success and failure? Reset your definition. Would there ever be a true failure then? Maybe some lessons learned, maybe learning how to have resilience, maybe seeing where you may not be letting things go. So, learning about resentment and how that can stop you, or that you're trying to learn how to forgive and you're like, how do I do that? That's why I brought Carolyn C.J. Jones in for this time to be with you on the podcast. I also have Janeen Olmos. She is speaking about resilience. She has a process that goes step by step. Incredible. Because even in there, there's a spot about being tenacious. So why not learn about what we used to call as failures, more like you're ready to dance and play, really get into it. My name is Rhonda Liebig. I'm an energy revitalizer, cash vitality coach. I'm the creator and founder and producer and creative being out of what this show is becoming. Every show that we do, I get so preciously in love with this journey deeper and deeper with the Fresh Inspiration Show. To have these experts that come in and share their spirit, their passion, what they're doing. Are you finding it a way for you to open up your door so that you feel like you're out there inspiring more people? Our community, I'm starting to call you the inspirers. Anybody that wants to mentally up-level their game, lock arms with others and learn from others and also guide and teach others, you're my kind of people. You're the Fresh Inspiration Show community. You are an inspirer, and I'm so excited to launch this hashtag, the Fresh Inspiration Show Inspirers. Okay, so what I'm thinking is you're going to be ready for this podcast if you know that things have been holding you back. You haven't been dancing and playing enough. You feel like you have been lost in all of this terribleness that's going on. It's just coming at you and you don't know how to stop it. It just keeps coming. And you're like, oh, I need a clear head. You could also be on the other side where you're like, well, yeah, I got this, but I need a little bit extra. This reminds me of the guys from the 70s. That was, I forgot their names. Dan Aykroyd and who's the other awesome character from Saturday Night Live? You know, like the Wild and Crazy Guys, if you ever watched that. Like, you know you got this. Like, your shoulders are just going for it. I got this. But you still are like, I'm still partnering. I still love having excitement because I look at podcasts as just another up level for the day. So I want you to enjoy this. Truly. From my heart to yours, we have 2 podcast releases for you for dancing, playing, and success and failure. The first hour podcast that you're going to see here, make sure you click for the second one also. But the first hour is the opening ceremony. I'm calling it Dancing, Playing, and Success and Failure. Reset your definition. Second portion of it, the resilience from vision to community. Then I'm talking about reviving your dance to create more income. And that is me. That I'm going to be on the second hour of the podcast where I'm playing. I'm playing about, music and love and joy and what we have going on and how to bring memories back based on the way that we see things and how to clear that. And so I think in this podcast, we really can't play the music because it's like all these top hits. And I think we'll get stopped, from Spotify and YouTube and all that. But we're going to do some cuts there so you get to enjoy a little bit of me supporting you. And in the second hour, you're going to also have Carolyn C.J. Jones. So I'm so excited. Enjoy. and you have a fabulous day. Keep growing and listen in. Enter the doorway. I'm going to do an outro video for you. Make sure you grab the tail end so you can really hear some of the nuggets that I think I would love for you to have. And I would love for you to share the nuggets that you got. Make sure you do reviews for us because we are growing. Love this. Love you.
Fresh inspiration. Fresh inspiration. Fresh inspiration. Fresh inspiration.
So there's toxic, what would you call it? Not positive, but there's toxic something that was very interesting. It felt like a dichotomy because it was like being real, but it was toxic. What was the term that you used there? That was very interesting because I can see where you're just like way up here and not really looking at things in reality. Well, what was that you used? What was that term?
Well, realistic optimism is the component of tenacity,
Uh-huh.
but it's about avoiding toxic positivity and toxic negativity. It's about being in the middle, looking at the pros and cons of all situations and the obstacles you're going to overcome, but trusting yourself to get through them.
Mm-hmm.
Maintaining hope, maintaining perseverance and commitment to your goals. Not at a level where it's destroying you or your relationships or anything like that, but realistic.
Yeah.
Not up here in the toxic positivity and not down here in the toxic negativity, but realistic optimism.
I got that now because I'm such a visual person, so I get what you're saying. Yeah, because I think there can be some space there where everything is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, everything is just perfect. But you can also show up that way for when you're in the middle. Like someone's going to grab it and know that you're like up here, which is like, oh my gosh, that's not realistic. And I think I've seen where you get even nervous because you're just so in that toxicity of thinking like everything is perfect. And so there's something that you are creating around you to make sure this is my bubble and this is real, right? And everybody else is like, no, that's not real. This is it's kind of toxic showing up like that because you're not relaxed and it's uncomfortable. It's like it pulls your energy in all different ways when you're hanging out with somebody like that or you're doing it yourself. I feel like we've all been there where you're like, oh, you just want to leave this world in a way that you're like, I just can't handle it anymore. So for a moment, I'm going to pretend like everything is good.
Yeah.
And then it's like that feeling, that jittery feeling, like that adrenaline that gets you tired. And so you were talking about burnout and those different things. So I could see this area being leaky, like energy of burnout. I do it that way.
Yes. You bring up a really good point, which is perfectionism. Perfectionism is in that toxic positivity
Okay.
realm. And, there's a lot of executives, doctors, high achievers out there in that realm of perfectionism. I can't fail, or I'm going to lose my career. I'm going to lose my family. I'm going to lose, whatever it is you're going to lose, but you're really losing yourself when you're in that realm. And we got to get you back to the realistic optimism in the middle.
I can feel exhaustion for doctors because that like people can judge doctors, and this is actually just about anybody because we have a lot of perfectionists. I was one, and it'll show up when there's imbalance. I mean, we are not cured like all of a sudden everything is to not perfect because you think the control and showing up a certain way that it actually makes it good for everybody, but we were talking about that right now. That's not the best. That's not the way to go. But doctors, we talk about how like it's a God complex, but it's such a terrible story to put on somebody.
Oh, gosh.
They're smart people, but
Right.
they also may feel like what you were talking about, like that everything is perfect.
Yes.
So they need to carry that. So all of a sudden they think they do. And that's where you get to do your assistance in those areas. Those are the people that so anybody that doctors out there, you definitely want to connect with Janeen because of the experiences that she's had with working with the different people that she does. This feels really special because we're talking in such a holistic way, but we're really blending that Eastern and Western stuff really play a special part in this world. And for you to be able to support and understand these components for people that the pressure that somebody in a situation that somebody's putting you on a pedestal and that you're supposed to diagnose every single thing because it's going to be your fault. And there's a lot of lawsuits out there for people, and that's as far as I'm going to go with that because as a CPA, I worked in the health industry, and so I understand that part a little bit. So I won't go too far into that. But I know it's one of your specialties. That's why I wanted to hold the space.
Yeah.
What do you find if we can just give one little story about like just doctor space because we know we've all dealt with doctors, but also I want the Fresh Inspiration Show. I want you to give yourself the space to really feel out what this means for you when you come and you try and control things because you're feeling like I need to have that space so nobody touches me because I want to act perfect. And please don't tell me I'm doing anything wrong, like that feeling. So, anything else you want to speak about with doctors and healing and perfectionism and those kind of areas?
So when I was working with the doctors, and technically they were in the category of impaired physicians. So there was something going on at work that was preventing them from getting along with coworkers or putting patients at risk or putting themselves at risk or crossing boundaries that they shouldn't have been crossing. So I really worked with some deep issues with these doctors. And yes, a lot of them have trauma and they didn't even know it. They didn't even know it. And that's the saddest thing is that they didn't even know what was holding them back or what was contributing to them getting in this impaired physician stage. It's like some of them did know, some of them logically knew what was going on, but some of them didn't know the deep drivers behind that, not only the limiting beliefs and the perfectionism, but how did I get here? How did I get here? And they fully recognize that there is a lot of pressure on doctors to be perfect and to be gods and to fix everything. So I had to help them, look at their job realistically. They didn't have to be gods. They could just be their human selves and they could admit to mistakes in a way that was like, how can we work with this together with the patient or with their administration or whoever they needed to work with and fix it, but not in a way that would expose them unnecessarily to lawsuits. So it's really about letting them just be human, but also taking into account their responsibility that they're holding people's lives in their hands.
Yeah.
And so that's a huge responsibility and they can't take that lightly. They also have to care for themselves so they can care for their patients better.
Grace just came in too. Hi, Grace. She was asking to be part of the community. So we have some people walking in that haven't been part of the community. They're new. So welcome in, Grace. Anything you want to ask right now? We're talking with Janeen Olmos. We're discussing a lot about the resilience, and we were talking about doctors, but I wanted to hold that space because we do get in that space where we feel like if we just put a bubble around us, which would be the control, and hold that space thinking that if I do this, then the other things won't happen, whatever we're afraid of. Okay, so are we on number 5 then or we're moving?
We are on the collaboration domain of resilience. And this involves secure attachment. I know that's kind of a therapy term. People are like, what is secure attachment? Well, it's not anxious attachment. It's not avoidant attachment. In other words, we're avoiding relationships. It's not disorganized attachment where we're attaching to people that are unhealthy or not attaching to people that are unhealthy or healthy. So it's about healthy attachment, seeking relationships because we know we all need relationships and it helps us get through life better. So asking for help and support. Going through support perceptions. Sometimes even perceived support is more important than actual support. So this is really important in the workplace. One of the things that I can do is bring this resilience framework into a workplace and start to build it within their community. So there's less cutthroat, kind of backstabbing kind of stuff going on. The leaders are feeling poised and not having to be perfectionists and not micromanaging their employees. So it's creating an atmosphere of support, whether it's actual support or perceived support. Of course, we're going to want actual support more than perceived support. But also looking at ourselves, and are we trustworthy? And are we likable?
That's a good one.
Yeah. And being willing to mentor others and also improving our communication. So there's some really important components of collaboration, which is support, trust and likability, mentoring, and better communication. So there's a lot to work on in this one.
Trust and likability. And then also being able to support somebody else. Those are the two biggest components that I used to struggle with. And you'll see, just the way I run things, that's something I work on all the time. But when I was in corporate, I was not very nice, and I didn't understand, because that perfectionism, and also competitive, because I thought, well, if I come this way, then I get to keep showing, that I am better than somebody, and it was highly competitive. Because I made it that way. I know other people were playing the game too, like, oh yeah, I got your back. Yeah, no, I don't got your back. I'm going to move forward, but I'll pretend that I got your back.
Right.
But when I was transitioning out of that 12 years ago, when I left corporate, I was crying a lot at the beginning because it was so painful for me to truly see the game that I was playing. People liked me because as you see, it's an easy like at first, but when you're not playing the game of healing and learning about yourself and knowing that you really don't have somebody's back when you say that you do. And so my scared factor was when I was starting to transition, and as I've been healing, that space is like, Rhonda, are you showing up where you're pretending? Like, how are you being in truth with this? Because 4 years ago when I started this show, I was saying, okay, all health coaches, all people in the health industry, I got your back, and we're going to do this, and I'm going to promote you, and I'm going to do all these kinds of things. And when it came down to promoting, I had to be in truth with it. It was like, here, it feels uncomfortable. I need to open up more space as big as I can and start understanding that. So I felt like there were layers. It's that time when I would say, I thought I already dealt with this.
Yeah.
And I want to say that to the Fresh Inspiration Show is there times when you felt that you were, one way, or you're still that one way that Janeen is saying, you're trying to figure out how to get yourself out of that. So you start asking for support or telling somebody you're going to support them, and it may feel uncomfortable at first, but in truth, that's the beginning. It's like you were saying, you can at least show that you're trying to do it, but the next layer, it sounds like, is that it's not just the perceived, now you are in truth with it. Like there's these steps.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, that's so, thank you for bringing that example to it, because I think, once I actually go into corporations and start working with people, I will see that. I experienced it when I was in corporate. I experienced we're all about success and everything has to be perfect. And oh my gosh, we're not going to look at ourselves as human. We're just going to, all about the dollars and, breaking relationships and hurting people in the process is the name of the game, right? But I don't think people will expect that trust and likability part, because if we're not building trust, we are eroding trust. So we got to figure out, is our behavior eroding trust or is it building trust? And when you're in a team environment, in a corporate environment, especially environments where there's high adversity, like police forces or firefighters or paramedics or whatever it is, you've got to have some teamwork and you've got to build trust with each other because of what you're dealing with on a regular basis.
I love that you bring up the police stuff too, because it's like, I've been reading this book, Cast, and it's been opening my eyes of like, how we group things, group people so we can put definition to it. I think we've all talked about that through school or, like in this field as you're coaching or like April said, mentoring, is that when you start wanting to put a label on something, it can erode a lot of areas too. Because we just brought up police, and we were doing something at school for the kids, and it was like, oh, we can't have them around because of what's happening out there in the world. This is such a good conversation. Is to me it was like, because of this mindset transformation that we work on here every month, I was like, oh, come on, friends, let's talk about that component, because we need to have them around so people know that they're okay. They are. We're all individuals. Let's make sure that our kids, 4,000 kids at my kids' school, that they actually get to see that human. Just because I'm a sheriff, police, or whatever, and you're seeing that in the news, this is perfect time for them to be around. Well, they don't feel safe. Well, it's a good time to do that then. So I can see that in every component in life, when you're thinking of somebody, however you're raised, that so and so and so and so, don't go over there because of this and that. Even looking at neighborhoods and saying, oh, don't walk that street. And then you realize actually that maybe 1% of the time that would happen, but it's the thing that you're putting in there. So I feel a lot of scared factor in this stuff.
Mm-hmm. A little bit. There can be. I'm sure it's scary for people to even hear our talk today about these components, because it's really asking you to look at yourself in a deep and meaningful way and look at the patterns that are maybe sabotaging you and your relationships. So it is going to take some courage to do that. But we will hold the space for you. I will hold this and help you do it in a way that's not shaming or where you feel even worse. It's a safe place to explore your vulnerabilities in a safe way, but also help you move forward in an empowered, powerful, high performing, highest potential sort of way. It's an exciting process, but it can be a little scary talking about all these components.
Just scrumptious. So we are on this last one,
Mhm.
and is it community? Like I forgot. There's a big loop here. How like it brings it all together. What's the last one?
The last one is health.
Health. Oh, this is interesting.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I've been talking about health since I was 4 years old. Bring it on, Janine. Let's bring it on. Health.
I know it's like perfect for all of us here today in this group. It's like, if we don't have health, we can't do anything else. This is foundational. It affects everything else. Like I've said, all these components interact and they support each other or erode each other. And if we don't have health, meaning we're not getting our physicals, and I know I'm throwing doctors in here, but they are an important aspect. They can find serious things wrong with this if there's actually something that's contributing to these other domains. Quality sleep is impacting our limiting beliefs and our emotional composure and everything else. We need a little bit of exercise, and we've got to look at nutrition like you amazing ladies do. We've got to look at all of that. All of that impacts our ability to perform at our best, or at least at our mediocre level, whatever level you want to be at. Hopefully not the worst, but
No, like I'll just stay there. No, this is safe. I'll stay right here. I'm laughing about that, but it's true. I should not be laughing about that. But like in our arena, what we're talking about today. Oh yeah.
yeah, health is critical. It's critical to all these domains. If we're not looking at that, we're ignoring a part of ourselves that's crucial and critical to our well-being in general.
I feel the same way. That's why I, I think about this because you're in the area of burnout, and so burnout is, it's all about health, and then all the components you're really talking about. So you get to go in different angles. I feel like if you can feel your energy, then you kind of know where to gauge. There's always tools. When you're working with somebody and you're looking at resilience, especially being certified in this area, so your brain must just go there, like just kind of all the flow of the six components are just there in support as you're working with somebody. What is it that you feel is like, because I think that there's a flow with what you were saying, but what's one that you feel like when somebody's really stuck in their resilience, is number one, like the vision, is that really truly what's happening, that you need to start helping them be a visionary of what their step is? Or can you go in any of those steps and just be able to go in any angle, and so they at least you know what they all are, because you're going to touch on all those somehow, even if you don't say the words and when you're working with people. But can you pull any of those out, just to whatever, to be able to play with when you're working with somebody, and then all those other components come? Or is there an order to this that you feel?
I do think we need to start with the vision, because if you don't have the vision, you're not going to feel motivated to do the rest of it. Vision is foundational. Even though I said health is foundational, so is vision. Vision is critical. It's like if we don't have the vision, it's not going to drive everything else. But I do see what you're saying. If I had to pick a couple of components where I see people struggling the most, it's with emotional composure, how to deal with stress, whether it's small stress or big stress, and the reasoning and the tenacity, which kind of go together. Those three components, I feel, which is right in the heart of resilience.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like people struggle the most with those. Now, of course, everybody's going to struggle with other components too, but I definitely see these three as being definitely something that people struggle with. In fact, two of my coaching clients right now, if we go back to the vision piece, is that it's like they'd forgotten to dream a little bit.
Mm.
They had dreamt, but not like beyond where they're wanting to go in the next year or two. They hadn't looked at a long-term vision. And vision isn't just about what's going on now. It's about what's going on in a few years, but also your life. I mentioned that it's part of our legacy. How do we want to affect our families and the people around us when we're no longer here? It's looking at all of our life, not just a piece.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so we went through six components. So vision, can you give it the order again? Because great stuff. And what I'd love for you to do is be able to revisit what we've been talking about, and really break it down. And I would love for you to come back into the group and be able to get, kind of give some more things, because I was taking notes as we went along to make sure timestamp wise, we know when we're out and we're talking. So what order, like, can you give me the order of the six again?
Sure. The first one is vision. The second one is composure. Third one is reasoning. Fourth one is tenacity. Fifth is collaboration or community. And sixth is health.
I love it. I love it. So, Janine, I have links to connect for people that are looking for you. I have LinkedIn, Instagram, Clubhouse, Facebook, and your website. What else would you like to say? Because these stuff that we've been talking about today, there's a way for them to be able to connect with you in first step and second step. Can you tell me how that works for our community today?
Yes. First of all, just give me a call. Let's talk about what you got going on. It's no pressure. I don't want to pressure you into anything you don't want to do, but if you're really looking to make some changes, you feel like you're stuck, you feel like something's going on that you're just not sure what it is, let's chat a little bit. If I feel I'm not the right person, I will direct you to somebody that could help you. But if you want to work on stuff with me, connect with me. The first thing we're going to do is take a very short resilience assessment, which is about 30 questions, takes about 2 minutes to get through it. And once you finish that, it will create a customized report for you. And we will go through all those components. We will discuss exactly where your strengths are and where you need to focus on whatever component pops up in the questionnaire results. So we'll work on that.
Mhm.
And then afterwards, we'll talk about coaching, individual or group coaching, what would be best for you and how that would work for you. So my first thing is connect with me, do the assessment, go over the report, and that 1 hour report consultation is free. It's a
Oh,
free
wow.
report.
How did they get the report? I have how they can connect with you. So
Mhm.
when we're done, or even now, because I know you've been in the community doing different things as we've been going today. Let's make sure we have the link so they can get that. So is it sending an email, or is there a specific link? Like, how do they get there?
Yeah, the best thing to do is email me or call me, and I will email you the link to take the assessment. That's how we deliver it.
So Janine, is it Janine at Janeen Olmos, or like what's your email?
It's Janeen at janeenolmos.com. And I got a funky name. So please look at the notes so you can figure out how to spell it.
Oh, I'm not even going to go there today, Janine. I almost did it again because this almost is just killing me. I just want to keep talking about almost. And
Almost did it again.
if you saw the 15-minute interview that we did on Tuesday, you'll get my drift of what I'm trying to stay away from talking about, because I already have a new talk for Janine, and she's like yada 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 because I can't get away from the almost when it's like almost. Anyway, okay, so I have your email here. Please stay in the community, Janine, and play with this in our show. And April, I wanted to open up your vocals, my friend. I knew you'd take a moment away, and I love kind of bringing this around. April, what do you think about this conversation? What you've been getting from these nuggets of stuff that Janine's been flowing today?
Love it, because being intentional and evaluating is the only way we move forward and deciding what we want to carry forward. So I think your steps are amazing.
April, anything that felt like you were just learning along the way? I feel like there's so many things that helped me see some of my growth, and then I felt like there were areas where like I'd like to revisit some of those areas. Anything for you, my friend?
Um, Probably more just focusing on the realistic optimism.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's good
I think
stuff.
we all can fall into that. I'm a very positive person, but I have to temper that somewhat to be realistic.
Yes, April. You know what? I used to feel that if I can remember, I waitressed for a while there, getting through school and stuff, and so if I put it under the carpet and I didn't look at it, that I thought that that was like perfect, because I thought that that's how I need to show up. But then if you have that personality, then you have to. I feel like I have to be careful with that. Because I go, am I still looking under there and happy, or did I just hide it and I'm happy? So do you feel it in your body at all? Like just the difference, like, okay, you're a little too up here. You need to ground that because you're doing that.
At times. I mean, I think we all do.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, I know I'm a high optimistic, and so I see sometimes people are like, "Oh, that is not real," and so for me, I have to look within myself. Well, is this real? Am I truly showing up? So I love how Janine was really bringing in truth, because it brought in information about the toxicity. I was like, well, what does that mean? But now I get it. I feel like that's part of my thyroid journey, is healing. Like, okay, you too much up here, Rhonda. What's going on? Like, I want to connect with that to make sure I'm grounded with it. So I love, April, that you're being truthful. I mean, respect to you, because I could talk about this all day.
Yeah.
You know how everything shows up. Oh, very good. Yeah, I anything else, April, you wanted to add to
No,
what you
it's
did, Janine?
just, finding that balance where you know yourself that you're being truthful, and what other people feel or perceive isn't going to affect that truth past the point that we need community and support, and we need to embrace others as well.
Yeah.
But sitting comfortably with your beliefs, as you say, Britney Spears, she stayed true to her beliefs.
Yeah, right. I love April, Janine, she's just bringing up that other layer, because we're very sensitive. Once you start really opening yourself up, you really start feeling your intuition. You start feeling more than what you may have before if you were trying to sweep everything under that toxicity part. And so I love that you brought that up, April, because it's like, even if somebody questions it and you can feel it, that's the point where you get to do a self-check, like, oh, in my past, I was doing a lot of this to get away from things because that was how I could, at that time, I thought that's how you're supposed to deal with it. And I didn't know there was this other side. So I like when people look at you like, you're freaking crazy. And you go, here, grounding, am I crazy today? Am I in toxicity? So, and then I'll go, oh, ground it some more, because other people have their limitations about themselves. So it's going to reflect on you. And April, you brought up, like, if you know yourself, and it takes a while to get there. And I believe that we were coming into this world being ourselves, but what's been your path, and how do you feel about being yourself? Are you comfortable with that, so you can be yourself and know what that is? Oh my gosh, there's so many angles to this. Janine, you just nailed it today with that resilience.
Definitely. Yeah, and what do we need to know each day?
Yeah,
Sometimes
bring
we
it to
think we
me.
know it all. Being open
Yeah.
to that.
We're in our teenager stage, yeah, like, yeah, I know that. But I feel like April and Janine, I feel in the Fresh Inspiration Show, I feel that's not coachable. Like, I always think of, like, as a coach, or April, mentor. Like, I feel like everybody, bring it on, is my mentor, my coach, because there's self-reflection. Even if I feel like somebody's, this is at the beginning stage of them really starting to learn about themselves, doesn't mean ego-wise, like, they don't know what's going on. Like, there's not this higher level thing. Oh my gosh, Gina, we were just talking about that the other day. Like, the higher level thing, it's like we are learning from everybody. So then we're not judging somebody because they're just at the beginning of their stage of opening up, or they're totally closed off. I feel like everybody teaches me something. So if we can keep that open, then the ego isn't, grouping people like we were talking about police. I'm actually really summarizing here as we're transitioning in the next segment. But when we start grouping people, then that's where we start deflecting, because we go, oh, I can't learn from them. And the ego sits here, and it's so hard to get past that because of the reptilian brain of fight or flight. And if we get stuck there, then that means life is stuck and painful and scary, because we're either flight or fear, like, wow, or like that. So, Janine, can we talk about this for 4 more hours?
I think we all could talk about all of these components for a few more hours, no doubt.
This is what I love about the show. I'm going to start bringing some dancing and playfulness here. And so, if you've ever done a dance party, or you really just like to talk about music, but in the mindset arena, I'm going to bring in some components here. So we're going to get into that transition. Janine, you did a fabulous job.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here, and thanks for being you. I knew right away when you won your first 15-minute scholarship, because that's how we got to connect. Is like you said, we connected from a community, and I said, let's play with this, let's figure this out. And that was one of the ways that we got you in here for the first component. And I loved when you came in, and it was the first hour, which I love to launch. I get to check on how everybody's doing. You really gave it to us. You said, hey, I was feeling this, and it wasn't perfect and positive. You're feeling something else. And I was like, oh, I love this. I love, because anybody that when we're trying to shield ourselves, we know that that you're just not ready to talk about it. And then Jeannie just came and just saying, well, this is what was going on. Not detail, which is really cool because no one really wants to hear like when I got out of bed and then when I put my left shoe on, oh my gosh, and then like that kind of detail. But I do want to know, how are you doing today? And Janine just gave it to us in such a fabulous way, raw. And it was perfect because she was coming in as an expert. And I was like, this is perfect. Because if we know that everybody feels something, meaning I'm not here to say I'm a coach and I know everything. Because when I started business 12 years ago, you had to prove you were an expert. And you had to talk about money. Okay, like I have a $100,000 business and I'm doing this, and that. And it was very ego driven. And then someone would say, well, I need to know that because that was the times then. And then we're in this era, and this is something I really do want to talk about. It's not just something I'm just kind of throwing out there, because these past 2 years, almost, is we need safe space here. So if we really believe that we're going to help somebody feel safe because we're the expert and they can come to us, okay, well, think about it. Probably your first answer is yes, because I know that they got my back and I know they're going to teach me all this stuff. But what if you can be raw, vulnerable, and then be with people and share them the experience during coaching, during your talk, during a show like this, that you really actually get to hunker in and be with them. Then people feel the energy. So the Fresh Inspiration Show and our stars, when you think about this and you can feel it from somebody, what's more important? Someone that's giving you tools, you can feel it, starts opening up your intuition. You start making different decisions because your full energy is open and you're able to see yourself more relative to someone talking down to you in an authoritative way. And I do want to bring up police again because something happened in our family that was very, very scary. And there were like 5 police just like ready to help. And if they came in an ego way, because like, oh, we're here, which I believe I see so many more police just like engaging, hello and stuff because of the climate of what's going on. And that's the way they came in. They go, hey, we got your back. Let me tell you what happened. And they instantly became my friends. Doesn't that feel, you can debate with me, doesn't that feel more comfortable and loving in a way that you'd rather be around that? And you can debate with me about it. I'd love it.